What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 8 of the Procedurally Generated podcast, the show about the random history of video games. My name is Chris Weber. I'm here with John Carson.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, John.
How's it going?
It's good, man. It is good. I just, as you asked me how's it going, I just realized, like, I have a topic that I should address that I didn't tell you I was going to address.
You sound pretty euphoric right now.
Yeah.
Big life change, huh?
Yeah. You know, if 2020 has taught us nothing, it's you need to be able to adapt, right?
Absolutely.
But we'll get to that in a second. Thank you guys for tuning in. We, if you've never listened to the show, this is a show where we take a big old list of a whole bunch of video games. Eventually we'll be about 150,000 strong. Right now it's about 120,000 strong. I'm still working on it.
Embarrassing. What a embarrassing number. 120.
If you ask people, like, how many video games do you think are out there? I don't think people can really wrap their heads around how many.
I think people would guess like maybe like 30,000 if you think about like all the years. But also that seems like a lot.
It does. It does. It's one of those things, like, it's and you know, 150,000 is, even that's not right. The number is north of that. We had to give ourselves some limits, but
it could be south of that too. Like a lot of it's like different ports to different consoles, or
That's true.
I like how many Tetrises are in there, at least 40,000. You never know.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot.
I'm guessing around 150K.
And we're going to work through every one of them. 5 games at a time per week.
By the end of the year.
Yep. Yeah. It's we should probably buckle down.
You want to extend that a little bit? I mean, everything else these days is just being like, yeah, we're moving into 2021. We're moving into 2021. Super strong. 9th episode next week.
That's right.
That'll be our last of the year, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless we do a bonus episode, we've dabbled.
I mean, we haven't dabbled yet into it. What kind of bonus episode would we even do in the next week?
Well, we could do our top games of 2020.
Oh, sure.
Just a short little guy.
Yeah, I might need to give a few games another look, or a good look for once. There's a few, like today I saw that Game Informer gave their game of the year to The Last of Us Part 2. And that's a game that, like, I never finished the first one. The first one's definitely an important game in the industry. But I was like, I don't think I missed out on anything by missing The Last of Us Part 2 this year. Some piece of me is just like, it's fine. I'll probably get to it eventually. But there's nothing like... I feel like you couldn't get through this year without playing things like Animal Crossing, or...
I successfully navigated the entire year without playing things like Animal Crossing.
That's fine. Hades, which I need to actually get some more time into, or like Among Us, which even you've touched at some point.
I did. I touched it, and I was like, "This
it bounced off immediately. Too hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. For whatever reason, for The Last of Us Part 2, I'm just I don't need it in my life. It feels like it's well worn territory already, and also it's just like a pretty grim tale in a year where maybe we need something a little bit more uplifting.
Yeah. No, and that's, I will say it makes my list.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And I did ask for it for Christmas. So, like, hopefully that'll be in my hands at some point. But like I said, I don't feel the urge to, like, I need to pick this up before the 31st to, like, get this in for my thoughts for Game of the Year. It's like, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's really good. But I've heard enough people's thoughts on it through the year where I'm like, I don't need to experience it yet.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yes. Let's get back to your.
well, yeah. I mean, that's we might be doing a game of the year discussion type thing,
Mhm.
doing something just a little different than the regular format, a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
But some people have asked what we think, and we're happy to share. So,
Sure.
let's see. Let's get into some topics for the week. Let's start with Cyberpunk.
Okay.
Woof.
Yeah.
uh,
That took a hard turn
it did.
a few times.
This might be. I think I think of games like No Man's Sky.
Hmm.
I think of games like let's see. I had another one in mind. I'm losing it. It's gone. Other games that have had bad starts.
I I wouldn't like. I know a lot of people throw No Man's Sky under the bus there, but I feel like that's not even close to
No,
this kind
that's
of
just it.
precedent.
Like I think of the worst launches that I can recall. Even Destiny got a lot of the original Destiny got a lot of flack when it first launched. Grand Theft Auto 5 uh, when the multiplayer launched and didn't work for weeks, months almost. Halo Master Chief Collection. I still don't think I can play that game online. Um, all of that to me pales in comparison to what has happened with Cyberpunk 2077. Um, if you're playing on PC, congratulations, you're playing the best version of the game, which is not surprising. Um, I've heard that the series, well, this I've been playing the Series
You've
X
been playing
version.
Series X.
Yeah, I've heard through myself that it's fine.
Experienced. Yeah.
But I've run into some stuff that has really started to frustrate me, um, which is too bad.
Mhm.
PlayStation 5, I can't speak to. I've heard people have maybe similar experiences to the Series X, but those that are still using the last gen consoles, the PS4s, the Xbox Ones, um, boy, unfortunately, you got swindled. Maybe that's
Yeah.
a little strong, but you got a broken game, and
Well,
CD
and this goes
Projekt
back.
Red is paying for it now.
Right. This goes back to what we were talking about last week. Like at this time last week, CD Projekt Red was offering to help out with with refunds for their games. For if people weren't satisfied with any of the versions. And I complained about like, oh, it's pretty hard for digital games to be returned, which Sony agreed. And for Sony to make the case for a game to be returned, it needs to be fundamentally broken in some way. Um, and they technically can't sell a broken game on their service. So, what was it like Thursday or Friday?
Yeah,
Sony pulled Cyberpunk from their digital store completely. They had a discussion with CD Projekt Red earlier in the day, and that was the solution that Sony came up with, which would allow people to then uh, get a refund for the game if they wanted to. If you already own it, and you wanted to keep playing it, you could. It wasn't going to be like taken down. It wasn't going to be struck from your library in any way. But that was the way that they wanted to handle it, and everyone kind of freaked out because that's unprecedented
yeah, exactly.
for a game that's, I don't know, one of the biggest launches of the year. There's a lot of clout going into the holidays around it, and man, that ship has sailed. I
Yeah,
think.
and that I mean, it also comes on the heels of CD Projekt Red making the announcement that if you're unhappy with your purchase, go through the proper means to secure your refunds,
Yeah.
which passed the buck on to people that were not prepared to have the buck passed to them.
Uh, and there, so today there was a an article that came out that said that even after like you adjust for refunds, Cyberpunk has sold somewhere around 13 million copies. So if you consider more than that being sold, and then uh, console developers need to like somehow make a process for several million people maybe refunding their game. That's nuts.
Yeah. So wow is all. I mean, I still I have a strong feeling that in a year, 2 years, 5 years, there's a chance that this game isn't remembered for this. I think this will always hold a spot as being like arguably the worst launch in video game history. But there's a redemption tale that's being set up, kind of a thing. And
Yeah, and I would tell people to maybe remember that this happened. Um,
yes,
remember that uh, CD Projekt Red may or may not have skirted the certification process. That uh, like a lot of the discourse around this game and like the faults that are there are people saying that, oh, remember when The Witcher 3 came out, like it was kind of bad too, and they supported it for months, and like CD Projekt Red is really great at putting out patches for their games, really great at supporting their games. Don't let that be an apology for the product that was put out by them and allowed to be put out by Sony and Microsoft. Because I mean, I'm usually not too like rah consumer rights person, but I feel like a lot of people got shafted in this, and there were a lot of safety nets that were pulled out of the way for this game just because it was a game that was 8 years in development that a lot of people were excited for. But when you put trash out on consoles that are able to support like the graphical fidelity that you're trying to put out or the systems in your game, then maybe someone should put their foot down and say no. And that didn't happen here.
yeah.
At all. So, yeah.
Well,
Uh,
it's a shame that it's gone down this way. Hopefully, the people that have been affected, I've talked to a lot of people that have gone through the refund process, and
I
um,
did as well.
yeah.
For
So
my Xbox copy, and it happened immediately. And that was like before they said that they had more people working on it.
okay.
So,
So that's,
um,
I mean, that's good that the people that are being most affected by it. I for one I'm not refunding it, but I'm also not having the experiences that other people are having on the Xbox
to-
Series X. I'm having some. I mean, don't get me wrong. The game is not flawless on my end. Uh,
no, and it's a big open world game. Like you're gonna expect some jank, and there is some fun jank in there.
there is some fun jank.
And the reason why I refunded my Xbox version was because I have the PC version as well.
You're
So
right.
like I'm still keeping my PC version because I do want to play through more of that game. But I feel like I didn't want to support what happened on consoles.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
on not necessarily the Series X, which I would be playing it on because that is a version that is fundamentally different from the Xbox One version. Even before they've made a patch specifically for the next gen consoles. Um, yeah, I did not want to have them have my money for that version.
right, and they shouldn't. So if you're the kind of person that would feel guilty for asking for a refund or something to that effect, I would urge you to do to do what you want to do, knowing that the developer needs to, in this case, CD Projekt Red, uh, they made a mistake. This is a big mistake, and you should not feel obligated to keep something that you don't want.
Yeah,
This game will get better, I assume. This game
I
will
hope so.
eventually be worth $60, but it's not there yet. So if you are on
Also,
the fence, I would say go get your refund.
sure. Unless you enjoy playing it, then play it. Like you do you.
Yeah,
Um, I will say I hope that this doesn't turn into another time of crunch for the CD Projekt Red team.
yeah,
I feel like this should just be just keep patching as time goes on and chill. Um, learn from your mistakes there. I also hope this just has industry wide consequences for big games shipping in a poor manner.
Yeah,
Um,
and
I hope platform holders uh, do take their certification process more seriously for big games, and don't, because there's a lot of money coming their way, not to um, look away and like wave it off in the manner that this was. So
yeah, and there's one other aspect of this that I'm actually not going to speak too much on, but I encourage you to do some research and you, the listener, not you, John. Oh, you want to, but
oh, I
um,
have enough homework
yeah,
each
take
week. Thank you.
do your research, read some articles, try to understand the inner workings of what happened at the
Mhm.
end. Too, between the developers that made the game and the higher ups, the people that pushed for the crunch and the things like that. Because there's been some stuff that's come to light this week. Again, I don't feel justified in talking about it, um, but it sounds like there are some bigger issues within that studio that led to this,
Mhm.
that will probably be explored further, will have a bigger impact
Yeah.
going forward. Like I said, I'm not going to talk to the specifics, but try to look into some of that stuff if you care.
Yep.
I,
There's
I hope you do.
there's good reporting out there, and there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that people could start putting together in a, hopefully in a responsible way.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
but otherwise, you're still enjoying your time with it, correct?
I am still enjoying my time with it.
Good. Good.
The bugs and the glitches that I have come across, I've made fun little compilation videos of.
You
Uh,
have had some fun ones.
Yeah,
That's
they're
true.
my smart car exploding out from underneath the semi. That was
I don't think I saw that
surprising.
one.
That one was cool.
I just saw the one where you were walking around your car in third person, without your head.
Yeah, my camera got locked into a third person perspective from like when you're
Weird.
driving a vehicle, and it wouldn't go back into first person, so it showed me in third person behind the vehicle get out of my own car without a head, um, in that same fixed view. So I essentially
Yeah.
was using tank controls of some
Oh
sort.
no.
Um, I
Eh,
brought my gun out at one point, and my
Yeah.
torso got like super skinny and all stretched out, and then my gun detached from my hands, and it was
So
a comedy of errors.
here's the thing. So I think I know what happened in that instance, at least with your character model, and that's in Cyberpunk. It's still like you're playing it in first person, but if you look down,
There's a
it's
body
still
down
modeled your body.
there. Yeah,
So you can see your legs, you can see your chest, your arms.
my shiny sequin
So
pants.
everything that you could see there, except for your head, where the camera sits. It doesn't need any geometry in the way, because that would probably get in the way of your camera. So I think the game was still just rendering your first person body, and that's why it was doing all those weird graphical
Yeah,
glitches and stuff with it. Because man, if you're in first person, you're not going to see any of that stuff, and it's going to do what it needs to do to make the game work properly. Games are weird. Like
those are weird.
the visual wizardry that happens sometimes is very cool. So yeah, Chris, that's on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah,
Your
I put it on YouTube, and I put it on my Twitter. It's the first thing I've uploaded to YouTube in like 6 months, and I think it was worth it.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, but yeah, so that's yeah, Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is what it is. I'm still enjoying it. Some other people are not.
I think I finally got it to a place where like it runs smoothly on my computer.
Okay,
So hopefully in the next week, once the holidays die down and work dies down, I can take some time and play it some more.
perfect.
But I also have to play some more games now, if we're going to be doing a potential Game of the Year podcast. So
That's what the holidays are for, right?
right, just endless stress,
Uh huh.
too much to do,
Yeah.
and no time to do it. At
Right.
least I'm not traveling this time, so
That's true.
unfortunately, I won't be able to see family outside of this the state. But
Yeah. Well, and to be fair,
uh,
we haven't committed to the game of the year thing, and we could always push
oh,
it
we'll
to
we'll
January.
see.
So.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But in this week's PS5 update, I got a
Yeah.
PS5. Ain't that
Well,
stuff? Well, I mean,
well,
assuming I don't piss off John Carson, I have a PS5.
it's we gotta see what kind of crazy games I need to run you through to like earn it, to really earn it. Besides you paying me the money for it, but
Also true. Yeah, I should
um,
do that.
do I have to make you like play through a game or finish a really hard challenge? And I don't know. We can have some fun with this.
We could, or we don't have to, though.
You know, it's coming to my place, not yours. So
That is true. I really have no say in the matter.
uh,
John is solely responsible for my all of my next and will be solely responsible for all of my next gen experiences as he secured my Series X as well. So
I got super lucky. Someone posted, it was probably Wario64, posted on Twitter that GameStop had bundles. So like they had a $600 or $700 bundle for the digital edition that came with like 2 controllers, like a year of PlayStation Plus, a game. Like it added up just fine. But like you were looking for just the digital console.
yeah,
Like, well, if they have these, can I like see if the digital version is available alone? And it took a couple of minutes, and then it was. And I snagged it up right away, and it was a good like hour of me trying to figure out if it was actually coming or if my order could be canceled, if they were only having bundles for it. But it shipped today, my friend. It shipped today.
yes, it did.
So
That's very exciting. My wife is just as excited as I am. So
what are you gonna play on it first? What are you looking forward to?
that's a good question. I so I grabbed Bug Snacks because it was the
Yeah.
PlayStation Plus game for this
Yep.
month, I think, right?
I think it's like a 2-month
Is it
thing.
2 months? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got it on the account, so we should be
Good.
good there.
Excellent.
Um, but honestly, I don't know. I've been
You,
so
you have Astro. You have Astro's Playroom that's
I could do that.
preloaded on it.
Yeah, you might have to run me through them because I've been so just reserved to the idea that I'm not getting a PlayStation. I told you like
Yeah.
that day that I'm like, I probably won't get one honestly till 2022 at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
got good news for you,
I'm
Chris.
getting one before 2021 even.
All you have to do is just give a ridiculous timeline for it. You'll have one in a week. So Astro's Playroom is
That
an
looks good.
excellent platformer.
Yep.
And it's preloaded on there. It gives you a good it gives you a good feel for the controller for the DualSense. I would highly recommend that. There is Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Not a Spider-Man fan.
Gotcha. There is Godfall, which
I
is
don't know
mediocre.
what to do, what to
You
think
should
of that yet.
wait for a sale. I
Okay.
think. As someone who's put like 5 hours into it, you should wait for a sale or
Perfect.
play it on PC. One of the two. I mean, there's sports games. You already have Dirt 5.
I already
Probably
have
not going to buy 2K21.
Nope.
There's the Ubisoft games. So there's like Phoenix Rising, AC Valhalla, and Watch Dogs Legion.
Okay.
Which, those are also just like, I'll play them whenever. Like I have all of them, but I've only touched Phoenix Rising so far.
Okay.
There's Sackboy's Big Adventure.
Oh yeah,
Which
that's
is
one that I think I want
a
to try.
Mario 3D World looking Sackboy game.
Yep.
And then there's like Bug Snacks. Temtem's on there now.
Okay.
You could play Ghost of Tsushima at 4K 60.
I could do that. Yep, I do.
Incredible. And then you have all the PlayStation Plus collection. So you could do, I think like Days Gone is in there. I haven't touched it, but I guess people like it. That's another one that's also running at 4K 60. Monster Hunter World. No, there's a bunch of stuff for you to play. Anything that was on PS4. It's a Freudian slip. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff you can play on there. But
Okay.
I would probably Go with Astro right away. And then Demon Souls. Demon Souls.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
You want to play Demon Souls?
God, one of my crowning gaming achievements of my life was beating the original Demon Souls. And I don't know if I have to do it again, even if it does look real pretty.
It looks real good, man.
Yeah, I don't. Oh god,
It.
I don't know. That is a commitment. That is a. Jeez, I'm sweaty just thinking about it.
You have a wife and a child. What's more committing than that?
Now that being said, Kate never played Demon Souls.
Oh, there. Ooh, Kate streams.
Yeah, got some.
Ooh,
Interesting. The evenings are a
yes.
little bit more free now that I will tell you why after just a second. Yeah, I know, and I'm looking at my list of like upcoming games too that I'm looking forward to just to see what else is coming.
Sure.
Super Meat Boy Forever comes out tomorrow. Did you know that?
Oh, right.
Yeah, tomorrow's
On like everything.
I don't know
I
if
know
it's
it's out on
anything.
Switch tomorrow.
Is it? It's not already out on everything else, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
I
That was
could
the Game Awards announcement.
it could be Switch only. I don't know. But honestly, the only game that I see coming out in January is The Medium that I'm paying attention to. So everything else is
Yeah, there's Hitman 3.
Oh yeah, I've not. Yeah, Hitman has never hit me.
I feel like that's one where I'm like one step away from it being an obsession.
Oh really? It's that
Like
much for you?
it's
Okay.
no, so like it hasn't fully clicked for me yet, but like in a way that I felt for Monster Hunter in the past. Like, oh, I know there's a nugget of something here. I know a lot of people like this, and it's just not like I'm not quite getting the thing yet. And maybe I'm hoping Hitman 3 is the thing that gets me.
Okay. All right. So yeah, well, I mean, I think it'll be like a breath of fresh air just to have the PlayStation in the house and not worrying about how to get it anymore.
Right. And now the new obsession is like, how do I get like a 3070? How do I get
Right.
a
Yeah.
4080?
Then yeah. Now
How do
it's
I go for the video card stuff? Like, how
yeah.
is this?
The streaming PC. Do we get Kate's PC? Oh god. Oh god.
I get Kate a PC before you get a streaming PC.
Yeah, you're probably right. I should probably do that.
Just for fairness, and also having gone through it myself, um, it feels real bad to build yourself a streaming PC and then your wife doesn't have a gaming PC.
Oh yeah, I suppose that's a good point. Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll focus.
We have righted that ship, thankfully, in my household, but as someone who did that, I felt real bad.
Maybe like a streaming PC is something that I'll withhold until like I've earned it as a streamer. Maybe that's the thing.
Sure.
Kind of
Yeah, all the donations and stuff that could go towards, paying bills and stuff, just put it towards the streaming PC instead.
Speaking of which,
yeah.
I am a full-time streamer starting this week. So I was laid off from work, but it was kind of a voluntary layoff because the job that I do in real life is one that can not be done well from home. After doing a large trial time to like a large experimental time of like how does this job look at home? It doesn't look good. And it was causing a little bit of stress like within the workplace between myself and the owner. And I thought instead of our relationship falling to pieces, which we had a good one, and when I can function at my job, I'm very good at it. I thought instead I'll approach him and say, "Hey, let's let me step away until things are a little bit more in order, and I'll come back. And then, you'll know what you'll get from me because I've shown you what you'll get from me and all that stuff." And it was a good conversation and all that stuff. So it was not, it's one of those things that it's always a little touchy to talk about when, nobody wants to get laid off. Nobody wants to not have a job.
Right.
But there are things in place to help people in this position, and I'm going to take advantage of them. Sure. In conjunction with those,
it's called Patreon and a podcast, right?
Yes.
Those are the social safety nets for it.
Yep, that's about what it is.
Great.
But no, I'm gonna be able to dedicate myself to being a full-time content creator again.
That's awesome.
And I'm excited. It's what I strive to do. It's what I want to do full-time someday anyways. Every chance I get to do it is great. But this I still need to be responsible and all that stuff. So when the time comes, when things open up, I'll likely be transitioning back again. But for now, we're gonna ride this train as long as we can. I've gotten a lot of support both, from on my Twitch stream. I think, today
It
I
was a
had
good day today.
a lot of people hanging
Great.
out. I think we averaged 21 viewers the whole time. So
Nice.
that's fantastic. That's higher than it's been since I stopped doing full-time streaming. So we'll keep working, we'll do that. We'll focus on the podcast. We'll keep making this better and better. Like I said, we're still speaking of the podcast. We'll move right into, well, no, we won't. We have games we've been playing still. But we're still $10 away from that first goal. Looking for any and all the support that we can get to if there was a time where this podcast could take off and you guys could reap the benefits of it, it's now. It is absolutely now. So
Chris, I think we should just make this a running joke where we're always $10 away from our next goal, and we should just make a bunch of like $10 goals.
I think so. Let's just make t-shirts. $10 away.
It's been like 4 weeks, or like we're only $10 away from putting stuff up on YouTube. But I do want to say that I'm happy that you're able to do full-time streaming again.
Mhm.
For whatever the circumstance, I'm lucky that you could do it in a way that's comfortable for you and your family currently.
Yeah.
And everyone's glad to have you back during the day.
Yeah. I'm glad
People have missed you, and they've been showing it. So,
to.
but I mean, people could listen to this every day,
True.
right?
True.
Like you could have Chris whenever you want.
That's right. When I do make that transition back to work and I'm back on my evenings during the day, you can listen to podcasts. We'll have tons of episodes up.
Totally.
And you'll get to hear not just me, but obviously you get to hear John.
It's not worth it then. It's not. I thought you were a salesman. Like it's a bad stuff.
I'm rusty already. It's been.
Don't show them the bad thing.
But
yeah,
what I've been playing on stream, Cyberpunk 2077. We talked about that. I gave Subnautica a super good try. Not going to be my thing. So that was kind of it was a 2 and done. It wasn't a 1 and done. We tried it once.
You gave it a shot.
I gave it
you
a shot.
Gave it 2 shots.
I did. And then I was like, you know what? These controls are bad. I'm going to. That was on PC. Sorry. I was on PC, but I was using a PlayStation 4 controller because that's the one that I typically use on PC. And then when I found out it was on PC Game Pass, I'm like, okay, we'll try it again. We'll start from the beginning. We'll play it on Xbox Game Pass with the Xbox controller and see what we think.
Yeah.
And I had a better time. I did. I had the living bejesus scared out of me by a Leviathan. And I actually quit shortly thereafter. Maybe that was the problem. No, it just the resource management, the limited inventory space. Some people are like into like manipulating all that stuff. I'm not. I couldn't do it anymore. We had a lot of really cool people that came in and tried to help me. And as they were helping me, like I was understanding more about what it takes to be good at the game. And I'm like, that's too much. And then we're still continuing the Final Fantasy 14. And this week I started a dub car, as it's known around the world globally.
A groundhog game.
A groundhog game. We really got to settle on a name and stick.
Yeah, it's both. I mean, you can call them roguelikes and roguelites. I think it can handle 2 more names.
You're right. But I've been playing Rogue Legacy. So we've been featuring that as the second half of the stream with Cyberpunk 2077. And boy, that game's cool. That game is
a good-ass game.
It is. Yeah, we had somebody pop into the stream today who has the official mod for the PC Steam version named after him. So that's he's crazy good. Oh my gosh. Think of his name.
Moors?
No. Hold on. Vamp for 1 second. Let me bring up my.
Moz.
It was, wait for it. That's the wrong button. It was Zors.
Zors. Oh, yeah. Zors.
There's a Zors mod, and Zors stream popped into my channel and said, "Oh yeah, I love this game, and if you want to make it harder, you do." And somebody in the chat was like, "Wait, isn't the mod called Zors mod?" And he's like, "Yeah, one of my viewers made the mod that." Like, oh my god,
Because he likes the game. That's
yeah.
great.
So that was kind of cool having somebody come in who knows the game in and out, kind of hang out, and it was a good time. It was fun. So
Local gaming celebrity visits game stream.
exactly. But John, what have you been up to?
Man, what have I been playing? I barely touched Miles Morales this week, and also Bug Snacks. I just wanted to turn on the PS5, and I feel like it's been like a week or two since I've played anything on there. So I'm like, I just need to play something on there. So I did that. What else have I been playing? Not a whole lot, actually. I sunk a bunch of time into Dicey Dungeons yesterday
Oh, that's
instead of
talked
researching
about
stuff.
that a little bit.
Yeah, I was watching someone stream it a couple days ago, and I'm like, oh, like I want to buy that on Switch. I had a really great time with it on PC. And then the next day I was like, but I have it on PC, and I don't think I've done everything in it yet. And there might have been like other updates that came out. So I jumped back in yesterday, and wouldn't you know it, there's a ton of stuff for me to do still. A bunch of different kinds of runs with different characters. That game is super fun. It's another roguelite, but everything is done using dice rolls, and you take like, let's say you're using the thief. The thief uses like daggers, which usually use dice rolls under three or less. And so you have to take whatever rolls that you have and use them in different tools that you have, or different weapons, or different I don't know. There's just different. What's the word I'm looking for here, Chris?
I don't know. I'm
Gameplay
trying to get
elements,
there
like,
too, but I'm
yeah, like, oh, like this will give me a shield. This is one of the enemy's attacks that you can use against them. Um, so at the beginning of your turn, you're given like X amount of dice that goes up as you play through your run. But everything's like turn-based combat, using these dice rolls, and you get to choose where the dice go that you're given, and you can manipulate those in different ways. It's really hard to explain. It's a very simple game once you get into it, but it's a lot of cool variations on the different tools and weapons and stuff that you can use as you go through the game. It's made by Terry Kavanagh, who did what is it? Super Octagon? Is that the name of it?
I don't know. The name sounds familiar. That game doesn't though. I don't know why.
Super Octagon was is that what it's called?
Super Hexagon?
Super Hexagon.
Yeah.
Hexagon.
That's a game that I've heard of. I've never heard of
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, not Octagon. Octagon's probably a ripoff of Super Hexagon. Yeah, it's made by the dude who made Super Hexagon. Obviously a lot longer of a game, but not as stressful, I don't think. It's less arcade. Oh yeah, he also made VVVVVV, which is another great game with one of the best soundtracks ever for any video game. But yeah, did some of that, and I did want to mention this. I fired up the SNK 40th anniversary collection today, just to kind of see if there were any, like, we've talked about some SNK games recently, and I wanted to see if there's anything in there that that we've missed before, or that we've talked about that I could have played. And there isn't, because a lot of this stuff is like old SNK arcade games, like Akari Warriors. There's like 12 to 15 games in here, but they give you this really cool option where you can play the game or you can watch the game. So you could just play the arcade version, or you can watch someone do a full playthrough of the game, which would be really helpful for us if we ever cover any of these games. The really sweet part, though, is if you watch the game, you can start playing the game at any point during that video and just take over for it.
Okay, that's like, I mean, that's Google Stadia level of things they said that you could do, but you can't do yet.
Yeah, it's crazy and it's super impressive. They have I'm guessing they just have a bunch of save states going through that they could just okay, it's really easy to just pop you in at this point. I don't know how it's done. It's not completely seamless, but it's a pretty good approximation of where you were in the video as to where you start playing. But if anybody has that and they haven't checked out that feature yet, it's very, very cool. And I really hope they do it more in other compilations. I think it's great for people who just want to see what a game is and just try it at certain parts. Also, just it's great for accessibility, I think. If you're stuck at a really tough part and you just want to get past it, or if you have any physical ailments where maybe you just can't play certain things and you want to get past it, you could play the video to that certain part, and then just start it up where you need to.
Can you kick the video back in if you get to if you get to that part, you want to play to that part, you get there and then be like, okay, now this is hard, let's let this guy take over?
No, because I think the video is, I mean, it's a very specific playthrough.
Oh, I suppose.
So you might have different power-ups or something, or you might be in a different part of the screen when you go to switch back over.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
I tried. I definitely tried. Can I put the cat back in the bag? Nope. Certainly can't. But yeah, that's a really neat anniversary collection with lesser known SNK games that aren't like King of Fighters or Metal Slug. So yeah.
All right, and that's it.
That's really, I think, about it. I did not play Final Fantasy 14 this week because I'm a jerk and I've abandoned my cryophilic crew. I'm sorry, everyone. Yeah. I'll be back soon. Just needed a weekend off.
It was basically 4 hours of us just bashing you to pieces.
Yeah, I mean, if it was only 4 hours, that'd be a complete lie because I saw that people were playing on Saturday and Sunday.
Well, we weren't going to talk about you the whole time. Come on.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess 4 hours is enough. Yeah. Did I play anything else? No, I played a little bit of Perfect Dark today, the 360 version. Not Zero, but the N64 port over to 360. That's fun. The game's still good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess I played a little Forza off screen or off stream. I forget about the games that I play when I'm not streaming. I've been still working through the list of games that I own and just giving some games a shot. And I keep coming back to Forza as this is, I'm going to do races before I go to bed. That is hands down. There isn't another game that even comes close to it as it relates to racing. It is my favorite racing game ever. So.
That's awesome. Well, I hope the rumors of a 5th one next year are true.
Oh, that would be so cool. I would be another Horizon over a Motorsport any day of the week.
Yeah. I'm sure. I feel like there's a way to do both in one package. If you're using the same racing model for both.
Well, that's just games do not at all feel similar.
They don't. If you drive the same car, they don't.
They do not. I wasn't sure myself until I went back and I played Motorsport because I played it this week, and I went back to Horizon, and I don't think it's a track setup versus an off-road setup. I think the fundamental controls are different, and that's a hard thing to explain if you haven't played both in a relatively close timeline. But I would, I don't think you could do one of the same. I mean, they're also developed by, I'm assuming they use the same, they'd have to use the same same engine, but they are developed by different studios. So
Right.
one is
Turn 10 and Playground?
yeah.
Is that who it is?
So I don't know. But yeah, I hope I love another Horizon. I would absolutely adore it. I've still got plenty to do in this one because there's plenty to do. But
True.
yeah, no, I'll never turn down more Horizon. So that is what we've been up to. That's kind of what's going on in the world of video games. If you guys enjoy the show, if you guys enjoy what we're talking about, you want to show us some support, go ahead and leave a 5-star review. Or a positive review. Leave us a note, leave us a message, whatever, because we really want this thing to grow. We want to get in new people's ears, and that's the best way to do it. That's how new people will find the show. If you want to reach out to us specifically, you can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/procedurally generated. You can reach out to us on Twitter at PG_show. You can send us an email at pgshowinbox@gmail.com, or you can pop in the Discord, which the link will be in the show notes below. Lots of good stuff happening in the Discord. I strongly recommend that if you listen to the podcast, that you at least visit the Discord occasionally to see what we've got going on in there. All of it is very pertinent to every episode of the show that has played so far.
Yep.
But I think we're ready. 50 minutes in, I think we're ready to start the show.
Yeah, we talked for like 5 minutes before that, so really it's like 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Maybe I could put in like an extra 5 minutes of whatever.
You could.
Who knows? Who knows? We'll see. I'm just not going to edit anything this time. No music. No break music. No commercial. Well, we should probably do the commercial.
We should probably do a commercial.
But in like a random place. No, yeah. No crap given this week. Chris, what's the first of our 5 whole games this week?
Yes. Our first game is part of a long-running franchise of sorts. It is a racing game. This particular game was released in 1999 on PlayStation. It was released for Windows. It was eventually ported to Dreamcast and to PlayStation 2. It is Test Drive Le Mans. It is also known as 24 Hours of Le Mans.
It was really tough to look that game up because it kept on seeing like 24 Hours of Le Mans. I'm like, no, I know that's like a race. I'm trying to look up a specific test drive game. Could you please butt out of this Google search? And it's like, no, this is also the game.
Yeah, it's also it took me at least 75 tries to figure out how to pronounce the developer right. And then once I got it, I'm like, oh, I get it.
Oh, Eutechnyx.
Eutechnyx.
Let me just steal that thunder from you.
Yeah. Yeah, Eutechnyx Limited. It's EUTECHNYX. And my brain just couldn't read that right. So developed by Eutechnyx, published by Infogrames. And I think there's a chance I might have played this game on PC a very, very long time ago. But I couldn't recall, even after seeing gameplay, because a lot of those old PC racing games, the Need for Speeds and all that stuff, they do kind of blend together.
They blur together, yes. This one, like watching videos of this, I'm like, yeah, I'm getting nothing substantially like this is Test Drive Le Mans.
So I thought it might be a good way. Normally we'd roll into the description and the gameplay and stuff, but I don't know how widely known it is. I'm a racing fan. I'm not a fanatic or anything, but I don't know. Did you know what the Le Mans was?
I've heard of it before.
Okay.
It's been like in my consciousness, but I had to like look up to see this time. Like, what? I know this is like a race. This is like a Tour de France, but with cars. Like, what is this again?
So yeah, so the Le Mans is it's known as the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and it's the world's oldest active sports car race in endurance racing. So it's actually been held annually since 1923, that's pretty impressive. And it is
almost 100 years.
Yeah, and it is called it's the reason it's called Le Mans is because it's held in Le Mans, France. It I mean it is considered one of the most prestigious automobile races in the world. And I'm reading some of this kind of straight from the Wikipedia entry because there's some things that I picked up that I actually didn't know. I thought I knew what it was, and I didn't. Um, so this event represents one leg of the Triple Crown Motors of motorsport, which this is confusing to me because usually a Triple Crown you
There's
have
three things.
entries, you have entrants that participate in all three, and I don't think that's the case here. The other event is the Indianapolis 500 and the Monaco Grand Prix. Um,
Oh, those are all very different.
they're very different races, so I have to think.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but I guess I didn't know that racers from each of those races would participate in all three of those races. But that's kind of what I think
I
of.
don't see the Daytona one doing it unless
Yeah.
they're using like non-stock cars.
What was in the Daytona? It was the Indianapolis 500.
Oh, the Indy 500.
So the Indy 500 is the open wheeled racers.
Gotcha.
And this is not a fixed distance race. It's not like the Daytona 500 is a 500 lap race or a 500-mile race. It is determined by time. So 24 hours. The winner is the car that covers the most ground in 24 hours without mechanical failure, which is important because not all of the cars make it to the end of the race.
Sure.
So it's held at a specific racetrack. You literally drive around the track for 24 straight hours, and the car that makes it the longest distance is the winner. So that is what the Le Mans race is. So and that's what this game is essentially doing. It's you take on the Le Mans Endurance Racing Challenge, join one of 25 factory teams, and choose from over 50 vehicles to drive. That's pretty good for a PlayStation game, except unless your name is Gran Turismo. Designed with assistance of actual teams on 8 different Le Mans circuits. Actual wear and tear of the vehicle is simulated with tire wear, oil and fuel consumptions, and the full race will see you racing through the day, night, and then back to day driving. So,
I have a quick question. I know you're more well versed with Test Drive than I am. Test Drive's more of an arcadey racer, correct? Like this
I
seems to be more of a simulation.
a test drive.
That
That's why when I said a long running franchise.
yeah,
Test Drive kind of runs the gamut with their releases. There's Test Drive Off Road, which are straight up off road experiences, 4x4s, all that stuff.
yeah.
There's Test
Oh,
Drive games that have been like on city streets.
yeah.
Um,
There's like Unlimited, which was like an open world situation.
yeah, it's very Need for Speed esque.
Okay.
But in many ways, it's almost more. It gets out and touches more disciplines, so to speak. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can't think of any straight up test drive simulation racing
Like
experience.
this has to be the closest that I
But
can
this,
think of.
yeah, I mean, for the subject matter, it would have to be. You're tied to a track, and
Right.
you're racing against other cars. It's
So this is only Le Mans tracks,
uh,
correct? Or do
yeah.
they go outside of it that
I
you've seen?
Let me check. They said circuits. I don't know if they just mean different iterations of the same track.
It might be like I feel like a lot of the videos that I watched of this were all like the same location, which would like makes sense. I mean, if you're doing a 24-hour race and you have over almost 100 years of history with it, like you could do a lot of different variations. Like that track's not staying the same every year.
Right. And most tracks, yeah, I mean, they're set up to just put up different barriers, create, short courses and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna see if I can find the list of. It's not.
While you're looking,
Yeah.
I did just notice, and I don't know how I missed this in the research, but there's a movie from last year that is all about the Le Mans.
Oh, is that the Ford versus?
Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's about it's actually titled Le Mans '66 in some European countries.
Oh, cool. I did
It's
not.
about uh, a Ford vehicle and a Ferrari vehicle lasting during the Le Mans. So there you go. I that's a movie I've been wanting to watch for quite a while. I've heard it's awesome, but haven't haven't taken a look at it yet. And this might be the nudge I need because it sounds like a fascinating race.
It really does. I guess I can't find the specifics for the course. It just says 8 different Le Mans circuits, so I'm not sure
Okay.
if there's a bigger sort of championship that's called Le Mans that incorporates different circuits, or if they're talking specifically to the Le Mans track with different circuit setup. But now it's probably not reasonable to expect somebody to sit in front of their PlayStation for 24 hours and run a race. You could, I mean, you could probably do
It,
it, I guess, but
it sounds like a good extra life stream. If you ask me.
it does. Doing an actual Le Mans race.
I mean, have you ever seen Loading Ready runs Desert Bus for Hope every year, where they do like a week of someone playing Desert Bus? Like they switch off every like 6 hours or so. But do you know what Desert Bus is?
No, I don't.
So it's part of a Penn and Teller video game for the Sega CD, I think.
Okay.
The game's called Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors, I think.
Oh, wait. Is this? I mean, this is like a old like. I think I do know what Desert Bus is actually.
Yeah, so Desert Bus is a game within Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors,
Yes, I do.
where you're just a bus driver in the desert, and it just keeps going forever. And there's like some stops you can make occasionally. I think it's pretty random. It's like bugs that'll splatter on your windshield. But like the whole thing that you need to do is just like keep the bus on the road. And so Loading Ready Run has made a charity, it's a Child's Play charity live stream every year now, that they just play that for like a week straight and like raise a bunch of money. It's great.
I just read the Wikipedia. The objective of the game is to drive a bus from Tucson, Arizona to Las Vegas, Nevada in real time at a maximum speed of 45 miles an hour. The feat requires 8 hours of continuous play to complete. That's awesome.
Yep. So they just play it all the time. They actually released it in VR a couple of years back when VR started getting big again. Anyways, I'm sorry to interrupt you on that one, but
No, that's okay because I don't have too much else on Test Drive Le Mans. I mean, it's a simulation racing game. It's pretty shallow. I mean, if you complete the race, you're treated to a cutscene of like past winners, and that's about it. And then there's some like exhibition and arcade modes to the game, but there's nothing else that really that's substantial. We can talk a little bit about the developers.
Yeah. So this came out on like a million platforms. So originally came out on PlayStation. Is it Technics were the original developers for this.
Mm-hmm.
I've lost my notes. Technics were the original developers. This is the only test drive game that they've worked on, I want to say, ever.
Yeah, this was the only one.
They worked on a lot of other racing games though. They did a lot of like Ford versus Chevy, Ford Mustang, The Legend Lives for PlayStation 2. 007 Racing. I remember that being a big thing.
That one stood out to me. MTV's Pimp My Ride.
You would see that in bargain bins for years to come.
Yeah, they did a Fast and the Furious game.
They did.
And then there's one that stood out. I don't know if you noticed it as well.
Warhammer 40K Storm of Vengeance.
No, not that one. But I must have.
That's not a racing game.
I must have glanced over that one because like 99% of the games that they released are racing games. That's what they're.
They did Ride to Hell Retribution.
That game.
Oh my god!
So for those of you who don't know, Ride to Hell Retribution is considered by some to be the worst video game ever made.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Period. Just a miserable experience. And
Uh,
a very, this game didn't, the studio, they specialize in racing games, and they created perfectly passable and sometimes above average racing games. There's nothing real bad until you get to literally the worst game ever made.
so there's been a lot of talk in the last couple of weeks with Cyberpunk. Like IGN gave the base Xbox One and PlayStation 4 versions a 4. I want to say.
Oh wow.
And usually with bigger outlets that use like a 10-point scale, um, or at least go from like 0 to 10 and whatever in between. Um, usually it's like they usually only use like 5 and above, unless there's like technical stuff that goes wrong. Good friend of mine, who used to work at Game Informer, Dan Reichert, gave this game a 2, which is just like unheard of. Oh, I've watched an entire playthrough of this.
Oh, you have. Oh my.
It's real bad. Well, I think it was like Dan and Tim Turry drinking one night and streaming it. So it was just a fun stream to watch in general. I think it was Tim's first time playing it. So yeah, if you, Chris, I think you might want to look that one up.
I might
it's
have
entertaining.
to. Yeah.
Ride to Hell Retribution. Oh my god.
Yeah. So, I saw that and I was like, well, we have to talk about that.
I was wondering what happened to these guys, but I mean, they were still contracted to make NASCAR games
Yeah,
for
they've
like
actually
3
been,
years after that.
yeah. And I haven't seen anything after, I think, 2015. Was that the last release that they had?
Yeah, I think it was. Let's see here. Yeah, the last update was in 2016.
Yeah.
It says like a company moved across the river from the Technics office, but like that's doesn't really say anything about them at all. They were like a sister studio or something. Anyways, they don't really make games anymore, I don't think. Or if they do, they are working on the back end. Their website has nothing. It says that there's still their copyright is through 2020. So I don't know.
Yeah. But
But
yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
it seems like developers don't hold on to the Test Drive franchise at all. I think I've seen like 1 or 2 developers that have put their hands on multiple games. It's not many, so there's not a lot of consistency through that franchise. There's not like a person that you can point to that's like, oh, this is the director. This is the person who has the ideas for what Test Drive is. But Test Drive's been going since '87. It looks like.
Yeah.
So,
and as we discussed earlier, like there's actually another one in development as we speak. So
yeah, there's one coming. So, yeah, Chris was wondering, like, I haven't seen one in a while, and like, if you go to the Test Drive Wikipedia page, the last game was in 2012. And that was Ferrari Racing Legends, which I remember, and I think that might have been okay. So I think you're just dealing with Ferraris, and that's kind of cool. But the next Test Drive game is Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. That's being made by KT Racing, who does the WRC franchise.
Ooh, that's a solid franchise.
Yeah, and they did Flat Out 4. I mean, they've been working with vehicles for quite a while.
Yeah.
So
we'll see,
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's all I've got for Test Drive Le Mans.
Yeah, I think so as well.
I guess I did have movie scores range between an 89 and a 30, so that's a pretty big range.
I would say as it came out on newer platforms, like this game started on PS1, then it came out on Dreamcast, which looked a lot nicer. I was watching a video earlier where I thought it was the Dreamcast version. I'm like, wow, this really looks like a PS1 game. This must have been like a really cheap port. And then looked at a video actually from the Dreamcast version. It was way, way nicer.
I don't know
The
if we
cars.
actually did. We mention that we got the PlayStation version for this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so we have the PlayStation version for this.
Yeah. But this also came out on PS2, PC. The PC is technically called a remake. And I didn't see anything that like specifically uh would warrant the the remake title.
Huh.
I think it was just probably because it could run on higher resolution stuff. It was the last version that was made. It was like 2 years after the other versions came out. So, yeah. Otherwise, I have absolutely nothing else on this game.
Yeah, if you want to check it out, I saw it for as low as $6 or $7 on eBay, or you get it from Amazon for it looked like 20. So, if you want to give it the old college try, the PlayStation version exists out there. I don't know. I don't. Not sure if it's on PlayStation Network or anything like that. I didn't see any reference to it, and I didn't check.
Yeah, I didn't check PS Classics. So, yeah.
All right, John, why don't you roll us into game number 2?
Game number 2 this week is it's a game that was passed around as shareware a lot back in the early 90s. This is Galactix, which is a Windows and DOS game. Like I said, in 1991 it came out. The developer was Mountain King Studios, and I think it was published by whoever could sell it for them. Like I said, it was mostly shareware, and that's actually how I played it. Galactix is a fixed vertical shooter. So we've been getting a lot of shmups recently. I think like one a week now for the last month. And this one's kind of fun. So your ship is at the bottom of the screen. You can only move left or right. You're always pointed up. And you're shooting whatever ships come at you. Kind of like a Galaga situation. But in a less uniform way where the ships come in. Ships kind of like bounce everywhere that they want to. It's got that early 90s PC look to it. I don't know how to quite describe it. Everything's like sprite based, but the sprites are pretty clean, and they all move like smoothly. I can't quite put my finger on how that looks like different from consoles and stuff from that time. Do you know what I'm talking about, Chris?
I'm trying to think of. When I played it on the software library.
Yeah. I played it from their website. I downloaded the demo from their website.
Did you? That probably would have been the right play because it took me a real long time to figure out what buttons did what.
Oh yeah, there's a few different options, at least for the version that I downloaded. Like you could do keyboard and mouse. You could do just keyboard. You could do a joystick. Like they have a whole bunch of different options for it.
Okay. The thing that stood out to me about it visually was that the window that you played in, it reminded me of a Tetris setup.
Yeah, it reminds me of that old Windows pinball game, if that makes any sense. But yeah, you have like your window that you're actually doing stuff in, and then you have information on the right hand side.
Yeah, the play screen itself, the game field itself is it felt really way too small for what was happening. So like you were asking for like what did it remind you of? I thought like chonky was the word that came to mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on in a small space. This didn't really have any graphical options, so everything's stretched out on my screen to whatever like the resolution would have been in like 1991 on Windows or DOS. So if you think about like that's what they're working with at like a 360p screen or something, or less. Um, everything's going to be big.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I get that, but it also felt like the actual sprites themselves were too big to be held in that space. Like they could have downsized almost everything and just made the area feel bigger in that way because
Right.
there was never it's wave based. Um,
Yes.
and the waves, I don't think it introduced new ships as you went. Every ship that was there started on the screen, and it was just
It's pretty randomly selected for what was coming up.
yeah.
Like,
And you would complete a wave, and then you'd move on to the next wave, and that's just kind of the structure of the game.
what's cool about this game is so you have like your normal gun, which is just like it shoots like two streams of like machine gun bullets from your ship. You also have missiles that are a stronger projectile, and then you have like a bomb that'll just clear the entire play space. Uh, and enemies will drop power ups and ammo. But you have a claw that you have to like shoot out and grab that stuff with, since you can't leave the bottom of the screen. So there's that balance of like, oh, I need that missile, I need that bomb, I need that power up that'll give me like a better basic gun. Um, and I had fun with the claw mechanic. It's different from what I've played with like a Space Invaders or a Galaga. Like everything's not coming towards you. You have to actively
Yeah.
get it yourself.
It was a little awkward to get my head wrapped around at first, but then it was, I mean, it's a little harder to, instead of just running into something, to have to like keep your distance, dodge bullets while trying to also navigate your claw to make sure it hits the power up and pulls it back to you. Um, so I mean, it was unique. I didn't get good at it. That's for sure. But
I
it
feel
was
like this game would really benefit from having like an Arkanoid paddle, like a spinning disc to like control your ship. Since you are just working with the bottom,
I think
and then
yeah.
have like buttons for your projectiles. I think this would make kind of a cool arcade cabinet, which I don't think it ever did. I think this was just PC only.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have worked. Well, this was 92. I guess it would have worked on, consoles of the time, but if it was, you would have needed 4 buttons, of some kind. Um, and then I guess the D-pad would have sufficed, but, um, yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was, for what it was, for a game that it started as, it released in 91. By 99, it had gone full, I mean, just freeware. So, you know, um,
You can still buy it for like $5 off of their site.
oh, can you? Okay.
It gives you the option, like, so I downloaded the demo, which is just the shareware version, and if you finish it or if you lose, it pops up a window saying like, "Hey, if you enjoyed this, the full version has 99 levels and blah 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 blah." I took a screenshot of like, there's even like a pop up window that came up after I closed the game, trying to sell me on the full version of it.
Got to make sure that gets into the Discord then, eh?
Yeah, that's why I took a screenshot of it.
Yeah.
Also, it was really funny when I was installing it. It told me to make sure that no other Windows program was up and running. I'm like, I don't think that's going to be a problem these days.
I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, okay. And then my computer exploded. It was weird. It
Oh,
was wild.
hey, you got to
I,
heed
I
those
don't-
warnings.
Thanks, Galactix. This game really brought me back to the time of like getting a disc in like 95 and having like 20 games on it that was just like all shareware. It's like everything was a demo. And this would be like one of the games on it.
Yeah.
Uh, it's really nostalgic to me. And I think even though like by today's standards, this game probably isn't great. I actually had a lot of fun with like the 3 levels that I played. Um, yeah, I don't know. It has that right look to me to bring me back. It's not like it's hard. It's not. It doesn't feel like impossible. Like the controls work. I know you had a different experience because you were using a different way of playing it than I was.
I would have had Windows
Uh,
on like a joystick or something like that.
Yeah. I think I was just using like you could just use the mouse if you want and move left and right. And then you have like your main gun on your left click, your missiles on your right, and then like your bombs on your middle mouse button, and then your claw if you do both left and right mouse.
Yeah.
So you can do everything with the mouse if you chose to. But yeah, it's neat. This developer went on to make a ton of games. Do you have anything on them, Sir Chris?
Well, the one thing that I did before we go into the developers, one thing that I did see is that there was documentation within the game. If you got the DOS version, that said that there's a plan to contribute a percentage of their profits to help save the rainforest, which I thought
It's
was
a
cool.
such a 90s move.
It is, yeah, it is. But they even incorporated that into the game. If you watch the opening cutscene, it starts off with like a news report saying the last tree has been cut down from the rainforest,
Oh,
and
no.
the CEO of Acme Toothpick Company or something was quoted as saying, "Gee, that's too bad." Like I don't know. And then it cut out to like the alien takeover, which is why you're saving the world and all that stuff. But they
Yeah.
yeah, that's I thought that was kind of funny. Um,
It's some good world building.
yeah,
And if you lose, like there's a screen showing like a city that's on fire, and then there's like some text that they scroll over it, about like how the world's doomed.
yeah.
Um,
The Zydus fleet. That's the alien race
um,
that took over the Earth. But you asked about the developers, and I noticed you said Mountain King Studios.
yeah,
They weren't Mountain King Studios though when the game was developed.
they were Cygnus.
Cygnus Software, yeah.
Yeah. Which like it seems like they've changed their name a few times between Cygnus and Mountain King.
Yeah, and actually, I don't have. I. It sounds like you found something that I couldn't find because I have nothing in terms of development credits from them.
Um, I mean, they've made Galactix, they made Raptor, Call of the Shadows in 1994, Demon Star in 97, Swarm Assault, Hypertron 2, Treasure Falls, Swarm Rampage. Like Swarm Rampage is the last thing that they have, at least to their credit. And I think these are all on their website that looks like a GeoCities website. Um,
I love it.
see if I can-
I've seen more of those kind of websites since we started
it's so
doing this
good.
podcast. Than
It's like, how are they still up?
yeah, it's amazing.
Um, but yeah, otherwise, is this someone who worked on that? Yeah. There's a gentleman who worked on the writing, dialogue, and story, however much there was. But that's Jim Molinetz. He went on to speaking of a Fast and Furious game, he's the senior vice president of production for Fast and Furious Crossroads, which came out this year.
Oh,
He also worked. He also worked on the ATV Off Road Fury games. Pain, which was I think that PSN game where you were just like catapulting dudes like through glass
I
or like
think
through
yeah,
wood stuff.
it's ringing a bell with me.
Um, yeah, he worked on quite a few things, or at least he's been like senior management for Jurassic Park World Evolution. Some of the it's actually a lot of looks like a lot of it is licensed stuff. I Have Judgment, the director of production of I Have Judgment for
That's
the
a
PlayStation Eye, for the
that's a kinda
PS3.
card game.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Yep. It's a weird one. I've always wanted to play it. I never have. Motorstorm, director of production.
Ooh,
Uh,
like that game.
yeah. So he's been bouncing around a bit. He must be at Slightly Mad, or at Bandai Namco.
Hmm.
Who knows? I can't see where he is these days.
Actually, that reminds me. There was a developer that I came across that I actually reached out on Twitter
Mhm.
to see if I could get him to comment on it. But he is the let me find the tweet just to
Oh,
make sure I have him right. He was the I think creative director for God of War, like the 2017 one.
oh, oh.
Yeah, it was. I I don't remember how I found him on Twitter, but I did a search and like his profile came up and it was like name your first gaming job. Like it was like back when like hashtag my first job in gaming or something was trending. And it was let me see.
Um, while you're looking that up, James Molinetz is the senior vice president of production for games and digital platforms at NBC Universal Media.
Okay.
So that would make sense why. He used to work at PlayStation as the director of product development, which
Okay.
is pretty big. And then he worked at Disney Interactive Studios for 9 years. So lots and lots. This dude's been around, and worked on Galactix way back in the day. I think that was his first video game credit. Yep, it was. He did acting and voiceovers for it, and then he did writing dialogue and story. So he certainly moved up.
Nice. Oh, I found it. Okay. Rich Fleeder, Fleider.
Mhm.
So yeah, his tweet. This is actually a tweet that he had back on April 10th, 2019. My first gig was a 2D artist working for Cygnus Studios, now Mountain King Studios, in Chicago on a shareware game called Galactix back in about
Huh.
1991.
Huh.
Since we were limited to a 256 color palette, I worked in Paint Shop Pro with a trackball, and that was hashtag my first game job.
Wow.
So yeah, and what he is
We should
right
hit him
now.
up and be like, we covered that this week.
What's that?
What a we you said you should contact him and say that we covered it this
Well,
week.
that's what I reached out. I'm like, hey, Galactus came up on this list for this podcast thing that we do. Oh my god, like da da da. I actually put it a little better than
What
that, but
stories do you have? And he blocked you.
yeah. So he game developer since 1992. He's the senior managing producer of art at Sony Santa Monica.
Oh wow,
So yeah, he's
that's awesome.
he got his start with Galactix, and now he's
Two of them went through PlayStation in
yeah.
some way.
So that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Galactix. I kind of like it. I kind of dig what it's doing. In a way that you would maybe find on a friend's PC in the early '90s. And have fun for a couple hours with it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not bad. I don't really have much else
yeah.
for
I don't
Galactic.
either. I mean, I completely forgot. I completely forgot about that tweet that I had found, but
That's a good pull. I like it.
yeah, no, it's too bad he didn't get back to me. Maybe I try again. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that'll be a community thing next week. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, game 3.
Game number 3 is a racing game released in 2020. We're covering the Nintendo Switch version of this game. The original game released in 2013. But it's called Crash Drive 2, developed by M2H and published by Spill Games. What does BV mean?
But
Business
video,
Ventures. Probably
probably
Butt Video.
probably business ventures.
Yeah.
You're right.
We're gonna. It's Butt Video
But
for now. I'm gonna make a call to the
video games. Also, don't tell them.
president of
Don't
video
tell them I said this. Yeah. Have we elected one this year?
It's me.
Oh, hey, Hey, really just filing that one away to yourself, huh?
Yeah, I didn't want.
Gotta look it over in office
It's a lot
hours.
of responsibility, and I figured if the less people knew, the less responsibility I'd have.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crash Drive 2. This is a weird one. This was
Yeah, it is. I found some cool like behind the scenes stuff for this one. I mean, the game is so here's the description. It is
yeah.
a multiplayer, free roaming stunting game, multiple vehicles and multiple open worlds. I thought that was they explain it as having multiple open worlds, which
They do. It's multiple maps.
yeah, that's all it is. It's
It's like a Tony Hawk map. In the way that it's structured, there's a bunch of just different biomes that you go to, and different ramps and houses and stuff. I did play some of this,
at,
and I only played it on the first level. I don't remember what it's called.
was it kind
It
of
was,
deserty and mountainous?
yeah, deserty, mountainy. There's some loop de loops there.
Yeah.
You could drive up some mountains. Um, this game is also weirdly kind of fun. Um, in in a way that kind of brings me back to playing like the first ATV game, ATV off road.
Okay.
Um, in that you're just set in an open space. There's a bunch of hills. There's ramps. Just drive. Just
Yeah.
fly off of
Go
things.
do whatever you want in whatever order you want.
Yeah. So there's like different rings and stuff in the air for you to like jump off of objects and like go through them. And that's kind of like your main goal, I guess. Outside of um each world is kind of its own server. So like when I was playing the demo for this, I would select that first level, and it said that it could support up to like 16 players or something. Um, Other levels would only take like 3 to 5 or 2. So I don't know like how big or open those ones were, which is very odd that they wouldn't all support almost the same amount. Like it was cut pretty dramatically
Yeah.
for other levels. But going like you don't have the choice to play this like offline that I could see. But like jumping in, you have other people like just driving around the track, just other like live players who are playing the same in the same world that you are. And occasionally it'll pull up like it'll pull up like a trick competition. So you mentioned that there's different stunts and stuff that you can do. So you can do like it's like drifting and spins in the air and all that. But it gives you like 2 minutes to like pull off like your biggest moves, and then it'll just bring up like a leaderboard of everyone who's on that server currently and like where they landed. So it's neat that there's like perpetual challenges that happen. Um, I don't know how much they differ. There's also like a tagging mode, which is like the Tony Hawk trick tagging mode, where you have to like trick off of things and get a higher score than whoever else tricked off of that to paint it your color. Um, and that one would happen like for like 2 minutes or whatever. It gives a little bit more life to this world, I think, but I mean it's not like super exciting, but it adds to my want to just like drive off of things and make my vehicle fly as far as I can make it fly.
Yeah, and like one of the things that can kind of keep you going in a game like this is that it does have
Mm.
kind of RPG elements as it relates to the way your
Yeah,
cars level up, and there's a lot of cars.
has Skyrim leveling up. Like the more you do something, the better your car gets at it.
Yeah, you drive at top speed, your top speed gets better. You use your boost, your effectiveness of your boost gets better. And I think I saw 35 different upgradable vehicles. Um, so that's, I mean, ranging from
Great.
monster trucks to school buses to other things.
Yeah, yeah,
um, and there's cross platform crossplay
yeah, yeah.
between PC and mobile, that's kind of cool. Obviously, it started life as a mobile game.
It did.
It does have some of the mobile game trappings that you'll see, but
Crash Drive 1, I believe, was only a mobile game and is not available on the iOS store anymore that I could find. I don't know if that was just Google Play originally, but at least for Crash Drive 2, that is still available on iOS. It's available on Switch, on Steam. It's currently 50 cents for 2 copies on Steam.
You're not going to find a better deal than that very often. So if it's a game that you want to try, now's the time.
If you like just driving around for a while and jumping off of things, or if you like the sense of boosting a vehicle off of a jump or a cliff, it's scratched that itch for me for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Enough for me to get my 50 cents for my copy and the copy that I gifted to Chris.
Yes, that was
He sounded super excited about.
best Christmas
Um,
ever.
now you have to level up all 35 cars before I give you your PlayStation.
Got to get that platinum.
Gotta get that plat, man.
So with this game, I came across a cool article. It was on Gamma Sutra, because of course it was. And it's we don't talk about we don't have mobile games on the list. But mobile games have made it to the list because they've made the transition to other consoles and other platforms. So we occasionally will discuss mobile games a little bit, but they're never the focus. And I don't ever intend for them to be. But this article I thought was cool. It was written by Mark Hairgarden of M2H, and he was discussing downloads and monetizations in 2013. But this was not as little as we talk about mobile. We have an even lesser chance of talking about anything released on the Mac App Store.
Yeah.
But I read through this article.
This weird like crossover when they started releasing iOS games on Mac.
Yeah. Which I don't even think. I mean, do they even have Mac games anymore? Like that on the App Store that release? I don't.
Yes, yeah, they do.
Okay,
but yeah, it is just like they just release it in the App Store. It's part of the App Store.
Gotcha. Okay.
So.
Well, here are some takeaways from that article. Again, it's not pertinent to the Switch version of the game, but I think it's a cool way to get a little insight into what monetization might look like from some of those smaller platforms. So Crash Drive 2 was the number one game during Christmas of 2013. So when if you were to log in, you would see Crash Drive 2 as the top of the list of available games. And during that time, they would have about 8,000 downloads a day.
It's a lot.
And this game was, this was not it was a free to play game. It was freemium, so you could buy stuff within the app. So in a 2-month span, they had around 125,000 downloads, which again, it's moving a lot of units. Now, over that span, though, they only made 2,250 euros, which is about 5 cents per download. So despite having the number one game on the Mac App Store over Christmas in 2013, the studio really only brought in about $2,250 from that version of the game. Now, mobile does infinitely better. They didn't have numbers available for that on this article or anything. But I thought it was a cool way to look at a point in time where people were trying kind of new things. Where are these games going to take off? Their main takeaway is that they could have done a better job with monetization of the app, because they were actually super proud of the way the number of downloads that they had, but just there was no incentive to purchase anything within the app. So they thought they could have done a better job of that. Mobile, it affirmed their belief that mobile is their main source of income. That it should be their sole focus. And then I have a second note there that I'm not sure what it's in context to, so I'm not gonna read it. But as a mobile game, so going away from the Mac Store now purely mobile, this game also helped publisher Spill Games obliterate their 2016 expectations. They hit their 2016 annual target of 100 million downloads 6 months early, and it was due to both this game, My Dolphin Show, and the Troll Face Quest series. So
your Dolphin Show?
My Dolphin Show, yeah.
You had a Dolphin Show?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me about your Dolphin Show, man?
Some secrets are just, best left kept.
That's all right. Yeah, that's true. Um,
But as a
it,
mobile
there,
game, the game is supremely successful. So
there was a little nugget in there too, where they were talking about how the first game, like just the evolution of games on the App Store was like the first game was like a release and forget it, and like by that I mean like they release it and then they just don't touch it development wise anymore, and move on to their next thing. And they did find out with Crash Drive 2 that that's no longer the case with App Store games. Like people view developers like working on a game over time and like adding things over time as like you were saying, like adding more monetization elements to it, um like keeping people engaged for the long haul. Like that's where they're going to make their real money.
mhm.
um so it's interesting to see where that evolution was. I think in the span of like 2 years or less that happened. Because when did Crash Drive 1 come out? Crash Drive 1. That's not the right developer. Pulled up the wrong notes. This was in 2013. Crash Drive 1 is not even on their website. Well, forget it. Forget it.
That would explain why
It's
it's not on
probably
the
because it's
iOS
not
store
available
anymore.
anymore. Yeah, weird. Huh.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So if you want to give this game a shot, like John said, it is super inexpensive right now. When
It
I
is.
checked, it was listed at $4.99, but you're saying it's 50 cents now for one copy, and when you buy a copy, you automatically get one to give away.
That's correct. On
What a
Steam, at
deal.
least. So I think this is just part of the Steam holiday sale.
Okay.
Obviously, Christmas is in 3 days from the time of us recording this.
Mhm.
If you're listening to this in January or February, it's probably going to be $5. Do you remember seeing what price it was on Switch? Probably.
$1.99.
Oh wow,
Yep.
that's not bad.
I think it was on sale at the time that I checked this.
Okay.
So it was marked down. But there are demos on both Switch and Steam if you want to at least give it a shot.
Yeah, they let you choose like your starter car. So I chose the monster truck. I think there's a limo and something else. And then I think in the demo you can earn some more money to try one of those other cars as well.
Mhm.
Now M2H um, was founded by two brothers. You mentioned one name before. That was Mike Hergarden.
Yep.
And what was his brother's name, Chris?
I actually don't have his brother's name.
What the hell?
It doesn't
Come on.
sound like you have it either.
I did. Matt. It's Matt. It's Mike and Matt Hergarden.
Oh, I see. M2H, Mike and Matt, two of them here. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Two M's.
We did it.
They've moved on. Like this game came out in 2013. I think Crash Drive 2 came out on Switch this year, though. Correct?
It did, yeah. It came out, I think, in
February.
February.
They also have a piratey game called Marooners that came out in 2016. But they also have a couple of shooters called Verdun and Tannenberg, which are based on World War I, I believe. Yes, they're a collection of World War I games. But I remember people talking about Verdun when it was coming out. I think it's a pretty well regarded shooter, especially for like a period shooter, which you don't really see as much these days. Back when it first released in 2015, that was a little bit hotter of a property.
You know, I guess
It's a little bit closer to like.
wasn't expecting it. I didn't know these guys actually branched out from mobile.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Well, obviously the port to Switch, but this is this Verdun was PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Windows, Mac, Linux. Wow. Okay. All right. I missed this entirely.
They definitely made their name for themselves. If you look at Steam reviews, it is very positive for Verdun.
Very cool.
I'm guessing for Tannenberg as well. Tannenberg is their newer one, which was released in 2019, but it's part of their World War I game series. But yeah, it's a hell of a departure from this game.
Crash Drive 2.
Crash Drive. I almost called it Crash Race. I'm like, don't call it Crash Race. That's not right.
Yeah, that's the same go-to name that I have for it, and I don't know.
Yeah,
It got
Crash Race. But yeah, they're still kicking and still. I mean, they become better developers from learning with smaller games, like what we talked about last week with Whittle Tree. The reason why I'm not going to give that game too much crap for being not as ambitious as other games is that a lot of times it's just people learning and making something that is kind of sandboxy and fun. The visuals might not be there consistently. There's still a lot to learn, but the best way to learn is by shipping a game. And I think that's what they did with Crash Drive 1, with that article that you found about Crash Drive 2 and its success and failures on the Mac App Store. They're obviously looking at that data and learning from it. So that's something that I find very respectable in the industry. Not everyone's out there to just like get your money, but like sometimes people are playing with the tools that they're given and seeing how they can work within the industry to be a success and to make a better product. So
yeah, and it's digging into Gamma Sutra the way that I've been able to, which I wouldn't have done without this podcast. It's shown me. You mentioned Whittle Tree again.
yeah,
That's the developers for this game and the developers for Whittle Tree both gave very open criticisms of the work that they've done on those games, and
Yeah.
they type something up like, this is what we learned, this is how we get better. Like, I think it's so awesome to see developers just approach it that way. It's all of these big games, all we ever hear about with the bigger games are, the secrets that are kept, the way that it's developed is never, there's not that. You can't see through the development, but it's so refreshing to see these smaller developers just like, this is what we learned.
Right. And you actually do see that a lot in sites like Gamma Sutra, or if you pay attention to like the Game Developers Conference each year.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of postmortems on games and what works and what doesn't. And I feel like for most artistic mediums, the artist, the creator knows what's wrong with their thing more than other people.
Right.
Like everyone else kind of gets to it last, but like the people making it and releasing it are usually already knowing what is or isn't wrong with their thing. And they're just waiting for more feedback to do something different next time. So everyone's human.
Yep.
Everyone is everyone has different likes and dislikes and has different skills. And that's why like I kind of like Crash Drive 2, and I know I kind of bought it as a joke, but also I bought it as like, we could probably have some fun with this sometime and get a couple people involved and maybe make a stream out of it or something. There's some fun stuff in there to be had.
Yeah.
But it's not like the thing that you're going to give 50 hours to. But it's a fun little, I think it's a fun little arcadey experience. I like the little touches in like selecting your car, where like the cars drop out of the sky, like it was like a Cruising USA on the 64, or like a Excite Trucks. I feel like it would do that in there too. It had a lot of those like little visual elements that brought me back to like the mid 90s.
The game that jumped out to me when I played this, and I don't know why, but something about it made it looks it doesn't look like this or anything, but stunt race FX.
Yeah. Yep. The bounciness of the cars is
Yeah.
definitely stuff.
Just
Yep.
just the way they control and the kind of like whoa, whoa, kind of just waviness and it was, but it wasn't a bad thing. It was weirdly familiar. So
Right.
it was
It seems intentional. It seems very flexible. It also reminded me of, like, for whatever reason, Beetle Adventure Racing, which I
fun.
don't think is anything like this, but I feel like the car selection was similar. Where, like, the car drops out of the sky, like, bounces a bit. Um, Man, Beetle Adventure Racing was awesome.
It was
You
awesome.
ever played
I did, yeah, I sure did. That was N64, right?
that? 64, yeah,
Yeah, that game was cool. Well, that's our third game.
it is. And we're almost 2 hours in.
We are, yeah, and
Oh,
we'll see what the second half has. All right,
yeah, sounds good.
you
I
guys,
think it's time for a bio break and a drink refill, and we'll be back.
for sure. Welcome back. John, welcome back.
Oh, you were talking to me.
Yeah.
Not our audience. Our
No.
beautiful audience, you're looking beautiful today. Just want to let you
Mwah.
know. Mwah. It's these brewskis.
It's right. Yes, it's
Your
my
voice loosening me up.
it's my filtered Brita water.
Also, I know most of the people who are listening to this, and yes, you are beautiful.
Also true.
So
Let's go with game 4.
yeah, we survived our break. Game 4 is a
Game
wildly
4.
popular game.
Yes. So popular that it spurned games like this to be
This
made.
is Missile Command by way of actually Laser Blaster
Yes.
for the WiiU. Uh, Laser Blaster was released in, was it 2016? My notes went away again.
Yeah. Released in 2016, like you said, on the Wii U.
By Petite Games.
Yes. So there are a lot of games in the world, and there's so much to discover about everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Laser Blaster, where
Sure.
there just isn't stuff to talk about because it is quite literally Missile Command.
Yeah, they made a Missile Command.
They did.
You have it looks like 4 energy reactors at the bottom of the screen, and you have a missile turret in the middle. There are lasers being shot, or missiles, I guess, being shot down from the top of the screen down to your energy reactors, and you have to intercept those with your own missiles or lasers. Those explode. They have a radius to them. They have a certain time that they're out to connect with the incoming projectiles. And your goal is to just survive.
Yeah. That is everything.
Without expending all of your lasers.
The main difference between this game and Missile Command is the opportunity to upgrade.
This is an RPG.
Yeah. You can upgrade your laser speed, the number of lasers that you can fire, your explosion duration, and the radius of your explosion.
I'm glad we both wrote those down.
Yeah, that's congratulations. You and I both found 100% of everything there is to know about this game.
Yeah, there's really not much more. It looks pretty. I like the skybox that they have, and the energy reactors look nice.
Kind of swirling purple and blues and galaxy kind of looking thing. It does look good, but there's really no disputing the fact that if you've played Missile Command, you've played this game.
We will have pictures in the Discord,
and that
and
is it.
Yeah, that's about it. I'll also link a gameplay video in the show notes. I'm trying to think, was there anything else for the developer for Petite Games? They have worked on stuff. I couldn't really find people's names.
No, I couldn't even find a website for him. The only thing I could find was a Twitter
Yeah.
handle.
Oh, these were the folks that worked on. They have a few series that they've been working on for the last 6 years or so. The one that they keep coming back to is one called Midnight. There was Birthday of Midnight that released on September 29th, 2020. It's been said that it's kind of like a golf-ish game. I'm guessing you're just making this character go from one point in a level to another. It's like a different form of a platformer, really. It's a platform puzzler. But they've released like 5 or 6 Midnight games. Along with a Space Invaders clone called Super Destronaut.
Like Deathstronaut?
Destro.
Destronaut.
Destro not.
Deathstronaut had me intrigued.
Deathstronaut would be very cool. Destronaut is like destroy not. Is less so. I don't know. That's very much a Space Invaders clone. They're really going for the classics. They're looking to recreate the classics and re-release them with different names. What else do they have? Funky Physics, 36 Fragments of Midnight, Infinite Golf. Is that the same Infinite Golf?
That name sounds familiar. Is that a Switch?
Yeah. No, I don't think that's the same.
No.
No, I'm thinking of Endless Golf, but it is.
Oh, I think I was thinking the same thing.
It is the. I think it's the same concept. I think when did. All right, so we're gonna do a little bit of live investigation here. Infinite Golf came out in 2017 for the 3DS. Endless Golf. I'm only typing this slow because my beer is in between my hands.
Patty.
Thank you, sir. Game.
I mean, the rest of Laser Blaster is on you. Whatever you can find, go nuts. I'm gonna admit defeat on this one. This was the least interesting game that I've found in this entire up
but
until
still like very competent. Like it's there's just not really anything going on.
Yes.
At all.
Yeah, and that's not me being derivative of the quality of the game. That is me saying there ain't shit to talk about.
Yeah. Endless Golf is at least 2015. Anyway, yeah, so they made a game that's like a popular mobile game, and I put it out. But yeah, it seems to be Petite Games is their business model. So
yeah.
anyways, I guess we'll.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we should move on to our final game.
Yeah. Again, it's
sorry about that one,
WiiU.
guys.
So you can't unless you have a Wii U, you don't have any way of actually checking it out yourself.
Yeah.
It's weird that this one hasn't made it to the Switch. It seems like the perfect candidate for something that would get moved from Wii U to Switch. But
yeah, and I think it's all touchscreen based too. So like you would have to use it portable.
Yeah.
That is the differentiator from Missile Command, I guess. If you are
I guess that's kind of a big one, I suppose. Yeah,
a joystick or something.
But yeah, we'll go into our last game, which is our Patreon community vote game. The 5 games we had are Around the World in 80 Days for the Game Boy Advance, Lost Artifacts Golden Island for the Nintendo Switch, International Athletics for the 3DS, Puffy Saga for the ZX Spectrum. I may or may not have been pulling for that one. And Orgarhythm for the Vita. And the big winner was Orgarhythm. Puffy Saga was a close second.
As it should be.
Yes, it was also tied for second. So Yeah. Orgarhythm is what was chosen by the community. It is a it was released, like I said, on the Vita in 2012. It is a weird amalgamation of strategy tactics and music rhythm. Developed by no, not it wasn't developed
It's-
by Acquire, right?
It was, yeah, it was developed by Acquire and Nalo.
Nalo. Okay. But it was also published by Xseed in North America and published by Acquire in Japan. So
Correct.
self-published in Japan. Okay, got it. I just I saw that written in both spots and I was like, wait a minute, did I just double type?
Oh, we got you there.
We did. So yeah, like I said, a weird combination of strategy tactics and music rhythm. The description reads as this: music and strategy unite in perfect harmony in this unique rhythm game. Set in a world of light and dark, two gods embodying the creative and destructive forces in the universe meet in furious orchestral battle, utilizing the touchscreen to direct your warriors and tap, tap, tap your way to victory by keeping the beat.
It's very dramatic.
It is.
You play as the god of light. You are fighting against the god of darkness. Yeah, so the combination of rhythm and strategy has been seen in other games like Patapon. Patapon takes place on a 2D plane. Um, looks more like a platformer, but is definitely a rhythm RTS. Now with Ogre Rhythm, um, or Orgar Rhythm, um,
Not easy to say, even harder to spell.
no, everything's like a top down perspective, and your main character, the God of Light, is always at the center. And the God of Light is moving on a predetermined path as music plays, and enemies will kind of start to swarm you and your God of Light and his army. His army consists of three different primary colors of troops. You have a blue troop, a red troop, and a yellow troop, which stands for water, fire, and earth. All of those have like a rock paper scissors element against enemies. So your water dudes are going to work better against fire. Fire's going to work against earth, I think, and earth against water. I don't know. There's a trifecta there. I'm probably saying that wrong. Water, earth. It seems like water would just be OP against everything if you think about it.
Yeah. Water.
So
Yeah. That's something's fishy there.
So we'll put a gameplay video for this in the description for for this podcast, and also in the Discord, because it is kind of hard to explain what's going on. But your God of Light is walking through a path on a level. This game is level based. At the end of the level, you fight a boss that has a little bit more strategy involved. But you have to tap on. You have to use the touchscreen of the Vita to tap on the God of Light on beats on to the beat of the music to select him, and then you select an element that you want to use, and then you choose whether you want that element to use like ranged attacks, like a trebuchet, or a or like hand-to-hand combat, and then you draw on the screen where you want those troops to go. Um, it's weird. It's like you're dealing with an auto-scrolling level, but also dealing with the music that you're listening to, and also the RTS elements of making sure your troops are in the right place to complete the objective that's happening. Um, Chris, what do you think about this?
Well, I was watching some gameplay and not being privy to the tutorial or getting hands on. It was real tough for me to figure out what was going on screen.
Yes. Yep.
And I'm not a big rhythm game person in general, unless it's like an actual like Guitar Hero Rock Band type situation. Um, I think it's an interesting concept that I I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's neat that the characters are all dancing. Like your God of Light's dancing, your troops are dancing. So like they do incorporate the music element to the visuals of the game and not to just like the rhythmic gameplay, because inherently strategy isn't rhythmic. I mean, it can be in some ways if you want to get really deep down in it, but like if you're playing like a StarCraft or something, like it's not, you're not working to a beat. And I feel like that's a neat constraint to have, to have to follow a rhythm, and have that be mirrored in the visuals, and watching like these troops just like dance to the line that you've that you've drawn on the screen for them to go task in, is kind of funny. Like no one ever really like skips a beat, which is fun. Um, yeah, this this game's just so weird to talk about because I remember this being a game that a lot of people were talking about when it was first announced and going up to release, because it is such a weird concept, like rhythm and strategy, and it being like a top-down RTS looking thing. Um, and it seems like even the developers had some issues wrangling that concept. Um, so yeah, Acquire had this idea to begin with, and they had prototyped some variations of this. Um, in its final form, uh, visually, it's inspired by the Mayan culture. So there's a lot of Mayan imagery, like the God of Light looks very Mayan. Um, I just have a lot of that artistic style. The original was a lot more medieval and like night focused. Knight. Uh, not not night as in the night sky.
It would have worked, God of light, God of dark.
God of Light. Yep. Um, but yeah, they had some issues implementing the actual rhythm part um with the RTS, like as you probably would. But one of the higher ups at Acquire knew knew a gentleman who had worked on other rhythm games before, who has a passion for them, I'd say. He worked on Space Channel 5, and that was Tak Hirai, over at Nalo. So Nalo wasn't originally part of this project. They were pulled in. Um, they Tak gave them an idea of what he thought would be a good fit for this, and actually ended up becoming what the current game is. Luckily, Hirai and his team were available to join in on this project, and that's how Orgarhythm, as we know it, came to be.
So you mentioned Takurai and Space Channel 5.
Yes,
There's another game that we should probably
that
bring up.
we should.
Um, I
Uh,
he was the main programmer on Shenmue as
mhm.
well. The Space Channel 5 was also what he was known for, and I think the connection between these two games exists more between those two than Shenmue.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so I mean, they brought somebody in who obviously had some chops, and so I mean, based on what you saw, I mean, he's kind of the reason this game worked out at all.
right. Yep.
So, but the knowing that Niello was kind of brought in and worked with Acquire. I went through it and I looked through some of the other games that Acquire had worked on. Knowing it's something that I had known that Acquire was a thing,
Mhm.
but I did not realize the extent of what they've done,
Yeah.
This is kind of a Namco type situation. I think from last week was Namco, where I was like, oh my god, they've done so many things. But going through the list of games, going back as far as the late 90s with some of the Tenchu games.
Yeah, that's I'm just finding that out right now.
Yeah.
And I for whatever reason I thought From Software was attached to Tenchu in some way, but I am apparently very wrong.
Yeah, no, I don't think FromSoft had anything.
Because when Sekiro was being announced,
Everybody
people
thought
thought
it
it
was a
might
Tenchu
be
game.
people thought it might be a Tenchu game. Now, did they work on one?
I'm going through quick. I just see Tenchu developed by Acquire. What about Tenchu 4 Plus? No, still.
Shadow Assault Tenchu for Xbox 360 From Software did.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, they have worked on Tenchu. So I'm not going crazy. Not this week. Well, kind of always.
They also worked on some of the Way of the Samurai games.
All of them.
Yeah, I guess that is true.
Which are games that I feel like I need to give more of a chance to, but it's another one of those games that you play through multiple times and get different endings, and there's a lot to dig into with Way of the Samurai.
Okay, it's not a game that I've ever tried. But the game that stands out to me on this list is one I don't know if I completely whiffed on this or if I just had no idea that Acquire was even involved, but they worked with Square Enix in developing Octopath Traveler. Yeah, that game is sensational.
Yeah, no, that's great.
That is a great. It's a turn-based RPG that came out a couple of years ago with about the most unique 2D style you'll find in a game of that. I would love for them to take on Final Fantasy VI Remake and use that same aesthetic. But it's a gorgeous game, and it's one of my favorite throwback RPGs that are out there. But I was really shocked to know that Acquire had anything to do with that game. But yeah, apparently they are co-credited as developers on that.
They also worked on a series on, I think it was PSP, called "What Did I Do to Deserve This, My Lord?" which here is known as Holy Invasion of Privacy Badman. What did I do to deserve this? And it's kind of like this weird tunnel digging, base building, tower defense game, real time strategy. It's a whole bunch of different things, but I've heard really good things about it. I've never played it myself, but Acquire just seems to crank out bangers all the time. Wizardry, they've done a Wizardry. They did Rain. That was a weird one for PlayStation 3.
I think I can imagine. I think I remember the cover art of that, but I have no idea what that game actually is.
I think it's like an adventure platformer thing. Akiba's Trip. They did all of those, which are like a kind of a
is that
beat 'em up. It's like a beat 'em up thing.
Is it stripping an aspect of it?
Yeah, I think your clothes fall off as you fight things,
as they're wont to do. You know.
As you do.
Yeah,
as you do.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, Acquire's been doing a lot of stuff. Also, make more Tenchu games. I really like Tenchu. Tenchu's super rad.
And I saw a couple of the big references to Orgarhythm, to comparing it to Patapon, like you had mentioned earlier. I don't know. I don't know anything about Patapon, so I felt like I was a little. I know that people enjoy it, but I felt like I was a little out of the loop on what this game actually was because I didn't know what Patapon was.
Well, look to see if there's a sale on the PlayStation Store. I think they did Patapon 1 and 2 HD for PS4, so they're going to work really nicely on your PlayStation 5.
I'm sorry, I own a PlayStation 5 now.
Yeah, I mean, I own a PlayStation 5. I own two PlayStation 5.
PlayStation 5s.
I own 5 PlayStation 5s. Uh,
If
it's
you
another really good loading ready run video series. They've been doing it since like the original PlayStation 3. Oh, the original PlayStation the PlayStation 3.
the original PlayStation 3,
Oh no.
the Foreman
All right.
Grill.
Gotta go, guys. See ya.
Yeah.
Uh,
And kind of piggybacking off that, if you want to play this game, I found used copies on eBay for $16. Again, it's only available on Vita though, so it's your time's
yeah,
running out. Vita's only going to last so long.
I'm surprised this didn't come to a mobile platform of some sort, because I feel like it would kind of thrive there. It is all touchscreen.
Yeah.
Was this published by? No, it's published by Exceed, right?
Yep. Published
And acquired. Weird.
published in the US by Exceed, which is, I mean, they don't have, I guess they don't have anything to do with the development of bringing it to other platforms, but they would be more than willing to, because they do that.
It's true.
So, but it's got a Metacritic rating of 62 and a user score of 6.8. So very, very passable.
Yeah. Maybe one day they'll do an Orgarhythm HD just to revisit it, just to pull it off of a dead platform.
Yeah, actually watching some of the gameplay, I was like, this could use an HD.
Yeah, I could use a patch
because I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah, it's a little bit muddy to look at. Kind of have to stare at it for a while. Like if you watch, there's like 2 videos that I watched. One was the launch trailer, which like literally told you how to play the game, which isn't a normal launch trailer. That should just be like a tutorial video. And then I watched like someone just play through a level like perfectly. And that was kind of neat to watch, to see how it's done properly. And at a high level. Yeah, Orgarhythm is a weird game. Thank you to our community for choosing that.
Yeah. They threw us a curveball with that one.
Yeah, I really wanted to buy it and play it, but oh, actually it says it's also available on NVIDIA Tegra 3 tablet devices.
Perfect.
But that might be
easier to get.
I don't know. Oh, it is available on Android.
Oh, what really?
Oh.
I don't have one of those, but well, I guess I kind of do. My work phone is an Android. Not like
There you go.
for work.
It's probably not available, but you could check it out. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, that's all 5 games. Do you have anything else on Orgarhythm?
No.
All right.
No.
Well,
I think we got there.
I think we should rate them.
Sure.
I'm just gonna keep throwing out ways of saying that until one catches on. It's all about.
I don't have any suggestions this time. That was all right. That was okay. I started last time.
You did. Okay. Let me start this time then. How's that sound? That's usually
perfect.
How this works.
So what's your number 5 here, Chris?
My number 5 is, because I think I'm bored with it in 20 seconds, Laser Blaster.
That's a good reason. That's a good reason.
I think I push the button, I touch the screen, I blow up a couple of those lasers, and I'm like, yeah, this is a game I played 35 years ago.
So I feel like this week I would actually play all 5 of these. Like I would actually give at least a few minutes to each of these. Which in like earlier weeks, maybe not always the case. To realistically like, oh yeah, I'd try that. I think number 5 is also Laser Blaster for me, because I can watch a video and just like understand what's going on there and not really get anything from playing it. I feel like there's, once you take the control out of Missile Command and like remove the barrier of challenge, and you're just clicking exactly where you want things to go instead of like waiting for a cursor to get somewhere, that challenge just kind of disappears, and my want to play Laser Blaster also disappears. So number 5 is Laser Blaster.
Yeah. That's a good reason.
Yeah.
Uh,
Numero quattro.
my number 4 is going to be Orgarhythm.
Okay.
And that's because of the kind of gamer that I am. I don't get into strategy tactics games, and like I said, I'm
Yeah.
not a big music rhythm person. And from what I saw about the game, knowing even those, knowing that what the mechanics were, I was
Mhm.
still looking at it like I no. So not my kind of game. Orgarhythm, you are number 4.
Okay.
What do you got?
Number 4 for me is going to be Test Drive Le Mans. Uh, it for me personally, it takes a lot these days for me to want to play a driving game. Um, and being centered around basically one location, one track. Like there are 8 different tracks in it. Yes. Um, I I just don't find that game to look that interesting. Um, I don't know. It just seems kind of bland to me. So I just
Uh,
don't have like any any pull to play this specific test drive.
I can completely wrap my head around that line
Yeah.
of thought. Um, my number 3 is tough. My number 3 is gonna be Galactix.
Okay.
Um, I'm very meh about the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
I
like I
get you.
said, I felt like every wave, just everything was so close together that and the bullets, like there's certain craft where it's like, okay, this is not a big deal. I can navigate around this. But then there's like other ones that are legitimately hard to dodge because the bullets kind of home in on you. But there's not enough room to like successfully navigate. And if you get yourself caught like in the outer thirds of a screen with a bullet coming at you, you're gonna get hit. There's just no dodging it. It's got it's an older game, so it's got that old jank, which in this instance doesn't necessarily feel charming. It just feels old.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I think that's why Galactix is going to be my number 3.
Okay. I think my number 3 is tough. It's tough. Um, my number 3 I think would go to Orgarhythm. And I'm very interested to see how that game actually feels like holding a Vita, because that doesn't seem super comfortable to like have to hold your Vita with one hand and then like do your tapping with the other, or like just do everything with your thumbs, even though like a lot of the action's happening at the middle of the screen, like the direct center. Um, I think it's a very cool idea. And I like watching some of the bosses that you fight and how you tackle those is very cool. But I feel like there are 2 other games on this list I would play more than Orgarhythm. So that's my number 3.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize what I've done is I've
Yes,
further stereotyped myself as being,
I also know exactly what you've done.
yes, I only play racing and car games, it appears.
Uh huh. That's it.
Uh-huh.
What if they made a racing roguelike, a racing dub car, a
Ooh.
a car dub car?
I'm shocked they haven't.
I think
And
there might be.
I'm in 100,000%.
Isn't isn't every race a roguelike?
That's true. I don't know. They could get an interesting hook on there. I don't know. I don't know. That's my number 2 is gonna be Test Drive Le Mans. Um,
Okay.
and I think same thing. I don't know. This one's actually tough for me. I almost feel like I put it too high.
I'm actually no, I'm actually very surprised what your number 1 is then. Um,
Yeah, test drive. Well, but you kind of hit it on the head with test drive. It's there's nothing to it. Like
I
a racing game needs to have a little bit more of a carrot for me. I can't just. I'm not gonna just. I never play arcade mode when I play racing games. I
yeah,
just do time trials. There's always a career mode that I'm into, or something that unlocks something, more cars or something to that effect. And this seems like a very bare experience from top to bottom. I mean, there were
it
better racing games. Sorry, there were better games that came out for the PlayStation 1 that were racing focused, like,
yeah,
Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo. It feels like it would be one of those like final challenges in a Gran Turismo, like do the Le Mans.
Yeah. And then even watching the gameplay,
Mhm,
there's like a suddenness to the way you turn. Now,
mhm.
again, you're playing on PlayStation 1, so this is a D-pad. This isn't a thumbstick. Uh,
It might have been DualShock by then.
it well, I guess I mean the first PlayStation controllers didn't have that.
True.
Um,
Yeah.
and I remember playing Gran Turismo with controllers that didn't have that, but there was still like there was a weightiness to the turns, and
Yeah.
this felt like there was not a admirable level of control. Not
I
having.
think we need to remember that Gran Turismo is doing things that no one did for another like 5 to 8 years.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, no, and I agree with that, but you still have to I still have to
Oh,
compare it to time, like the games of the time, and that is very much a game of the time.
especially when this is trying to simulate a very uh it's an endurance race. Like it's a very brutal strategic race.
Yeah.
And if you're not hitting all those realistic points right, you're not really doing the Le Mans correctly.
Yeah, and that's just when you break down a 12-hour race into a 12-minute race, and there's nothing that you really achieve. There's nothing
Right.
that there's no carrot to chase. Like it's just not. Again, I like it because there's cars and racing, and
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
a racing game, it's
That
a genre
excites
that
you.
I hold to higher esteem than some of the games below. Uh,
Right.
but that's really what carried it to do, and I still,
Which
and even now that we talked
still
about
blows my mind that the number one game is also in cars.
it, yeah.
Uh, not a more not a more serious simulation game. My number two, if you were done, I'm sorry.
I am
Did I
done,
cut
yes,
you
yep.
off? Okay. My number two is oof. This where it gets real tough. Uh these are really interchangeable for me. Number two, I'm gonna go with Galactix. We're gonna give a big win to number one. Uh, Galactix really brings me back to opening up a game that my friend has in his like start menu that I don't have on my computer, and playing it for like 10 minutes and going, "Oh, that's cool." Like I did with like pinball back in the day. And I think I probably did with Galactix. This feels so familiar to me, and it's something that it's on my computer now, and I really see myself occasionally just like hopping in and playing a few levels, even if it's just the shareware version, because I feel like that's probably the right amount for me. Um, it just has that Windows 95 looking uh like free game that came on your computer, and that's like all that you have access to, and that's all that you're gonna play. It just gives me that nostalgia. And nostalgia's powerful, my friend.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially that time of my life. I have more nostalgia for console games, but lately I've been realizing I have a pretty big soft spot for like shareware DOS and Windows games. There's a lot. There's a lot of them that I played. So Galactix is number two. Chris, I think I know what your number one is.
What do you think it is?
It's no, Crash Drive 2.
Yes, Test Drive is taking up my 1 and 2 spot.
Kick Crash Drive out.
It's Crash Drive 2, and the reason that is ahead of Test Drive is because
I bought you a copy of it.
well,
Is it
yeah, it's
the power of the gift?
yes, because I own it now.
Yes.
Technically, I haven't redeemed it. I have to redeem it. I haven't redeemed it yet. Well, it's like I said, it reminded me of Stunt Race FX, despite it not having the racing mechanic,
right?
But the floatiness and the kind of the bounciness of the one car I actually tried. I didn't try any of the other cars, but it's got that thing to chase. You know, there's multiple cars to choose from. There's 35 different cars. Every one you level up. You know, granted, I don't think the leveling system is deep at all.
No, but it surprised me that I was like, oh, I'm driving, and I didn't expect it to like go, oh, you leveled up your speed, or you leveled up your jump or your boost just by doing it. I'm sorry. Continue on yours.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's about it. I mean, it's just the idea that there's a little bit more to chase. There's a little bit more depth there. I mean, the multiplayer's neat. It's not something that I'm necessarily. It's not something that helped elevate it at all. But there's just there's enough game there to substantiate, at least with this week's games. To keep me hooked for longer. Now, that being said, this week's games are not super appealing to me across the board.
Just wait until the next couple of weeks, everyone.
Yeah, we've got some.
We're getting into megaton territory here. That is also my number one. Is Crash Drive 2, and when I played the demo, I wasn't. Let's be real here. I wasn't expecting much. It was a game that was $4.99 on Steam. There's a demo for it, which I was grateful for because I didn't want to spend $4.99. Hopped in, saw those bouncy cars. I'm like, all right, this is cool. And then went to like the level select, and it started saying like for X amount of players, for this amount of players, and it showed you how many players were in there. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Am I like racing against them or what? And I jump into the first level, and it's like a big playground. It's like a Tony Hawk level. There's a bunch of places you can drive to and tricks to do. I talked about this a bunch earlier, and it's gonna sound like a broken record. But I didn't expect all those things to come together, or be there at all to begin with. I think there's a neat little sandbox there. I feel like people can get a lot of fun from that. Once again, like with Whittle Tree last week, I feel like kids can get a lot of traction from this, and can have a lot of fun with this. Especially since it is a mobile game as well. They can get it on their phones or iPod touches or whatever, or their Switch, and have a good afternoon or two with it. The physics seem fine. Like nothing seems like abhorrently off from playing it. It doesn't feel broken. I just like driving to things. I drove up a mountain, like the side of a mountain where I probably shouldn't have driven. But I could, and I did.
Yeah, and while I said like, in terms of the offerings, like none of these games are super for me, I would say that this game is more for other people than it is for me. So if it came to recommending any of the games on the list, this is the one that I would recommend the most to people as well.
Absolutely. Same.
Well, neato, gang.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it.
Week 8.
Now, were we wrong? Is your list better for better reasons?
Absolutely.
You should let us know. You should write in to
you weren't talking.
PG Show inbox at gmail.com or send us a tweet at PG Show, PG_show. Sorry. Or let us know about it in the Discord. send us a message on Patreon, patreon.com/procedurally generated. Or pop into our Twitch chats when we're streaming. Let us know your thoughts. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to know what you guys think about the games that are offered up every week. And we'd love to continue to put out more content for you outside of the podcast and all that good stuff. So if you happen by the Patreon, go ahead, consider throwing us a couple bucks. $3 gets you a bronze status. It gets you into the weekly vote for the games. The final game that we feature on every show. It gets you an ad-free listening experience, and it gets you early access to the podcast. Speaking of those patrons, though, we should thank everybody.
Sure.
I
think they deserve it.
We should set a number. Now we'll do it later. We'll do it later. We don't need to do it now.
Talk about it on Fair.
Yeah. All right. We have our 10 patrons. We have Mecha Sprite and Jody Morris at our $25 platinum tier. Thank you so much. We have XChin at our $15 gold tier. Thank you. We have Tim, Kate, my wifey, Tori, and the Lone Wolf coming in at the silver tier. Thank you so much. Jason Daphnis, John Carson, and Aussie Gamer at the bronze tier. Thank you guys. Everyone.
You handsome gentlemen at bronze.
So much for your support. If you enjoyed the show, if you enjoyed what we were talking about, then please leave us a positive review on whatever podcast you're listening to this on. It would mean the world to us. We'd love to continue to see the numbers climb in terms of listens. We hope that you guys continue to listen. We hope that you continue to tell your friends about the show. We will keep trying to get better. But we need you guys to let us know. What do you think, John?
I think that's a show, man.
That's a show.
I think we did it.
We eclipsed the 3-hour mark again.
I mean,
we had a lot of good stuff to talk about in the beginning.
Oh, totally.
And the show, I honestly, like we were talking before we started, like this is gonna be the hour 45er. This is gonna be the hour 45er.
I feel like we curse ourselves every time that we do that.
Yeah. The one time
during the break,
it'll be a 20-minute show somehow.
During the break, my wife asked me if we were done, and I'm like, no, we've finished 3 of the 5 games.
Yeah,
I'll see you in an hour and a half.
Exactly. That's my wife is in a book club. She's like, you done? Like, no. That's not how. But what can you do? We love to do this. We'll continue to do this. We'll keep bringing you hot old games. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. We will talk to you next time.
Later. Happy holidays.
Oh yeah, happy holidays. That's pertinent right now.
Yes. All right. We'll catch you guys later. Bye.